Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power stands as a controversial yet essential exploration of human behavior and the mechanics of social influence. Banned in prisons for its perceived danger, the book has quietly become a foundational text for executives, politicians, and high-level strategists worldwide. While often dismissed as a manual for manipulation, the text is better understood as a field guide for navigating complex professional and social hierarchies. The discomfort many feel when reading it stems from a simple reality. It describes how the world actually operates, rather than how we wish it did. Consider the first law: never outshine the master, which highlights the fragile nature of authority and the inherent risks of appearing too talented or ambitious. Greene observed that those in power often operate on a foundation of insecurity, where your excellence is subconsciously registered as a direct threat. This dynamic explains why brilliant ideas are often buried by managers who feel their own status is being undermined by a subordinate's sudden success. Similarly, the principle of always say less than necessary reveals the immense strategic value of silence in controlling the flow of information and perception. When you over-explain, you signal anxiety and a lack of confidence, whereas silence creates a cognitive pressure that forces others to reveal their intentions. Cardinal Richelieu mastered this by saying little in meetings with Louis XIII, effectively maneuvering the king while letting him believe he was in charge. These laws demonstrate that power is not inherently evil, but rather a universal language spoken in every room we enter, regardless of our intentions. When we fail to recognize these underlying dynamics, we inadvertently become vulnerable to the influence of others who are more aware of the game. By learning to identify these patterns, we transition from being passive participants to becoming literate in the subtle, unspoken rules that dictate our success. Next, we examine the critical importance of reputation, which Greene argues must be guarded with your life as it precedes you into every room. A strong reputation acts as a shield, ensuring your mistakes are attributed to circumstances while your successes are viewed as a testament to your character. Zhuge Liang famously saved his city by simply sitting on a wall playing a lute, relying entirely on his reputation to deter an approaching army. This illustrates that reputation is not just what you think of yourself, but the narrative that others carry about you when you are absent. Most people treat reputation as a passive byproduct of work, but Greene insists it must be actively shaped to serve the narrative you require. Moving to the fourth law, we find that winning through actions is far more effective than winning through the temporary victory of an argument. Arguments, even when logically sound, trigger a status threat in the other person, which almost always results in resentment rather than genuine agreement. Benjamin Franklin avoided this by asking questions that led others to the correct conclusion, making them feel helped rather than corrected or humiliated. This approach requires the patience to forego immediate credit, but it secures a much more cooperative and long-term influence over your peers. Finally, we consider the law of using absence to increase respect, a concept that feels counterintuitive in our era of constant digital availability. We tend to value what is scarce and take for granted what is abundant, meaning that constant presence often makes you seem like background noise. By being selectively absent, you ensure your presence is treated as an event, making your attention a signal rather than a default expectation. These 5 laws are not just abstract concepts, they are practical tools for navigating the complex social environments we encounter every single day. Understanding them allows you to protect your career from those who feel threatened by your talent or your desire to move up in rank. It prevents you from wasting years winning arguments that ultimately cost you the relationships and influence you were trying to build in the first place. Knowing when to be present and when to withdraw ensures that your engagement remains meaningful and that your value is never taken for granted. Ultimately, mastering these principles allows us to safeguard our reputation and influence, ensuring we navigate any environment with clarity, intention, and quiet competence. This is not about becoming a manipulator, but about becoming a clear-eyed observer of the dynamics that govern our professional and personal lives. When you stop pretending the game isn't being played, you gain the ability to move through these environments with a level of strategic awareness. Many people go their entire lives without realizing these patterns, leaving them constantly surprised by the outcomes of their own interactions and efforts. Once you see these laws in action, you cannot unsee them, and your approach to every conversation and presentation will fundamentally change for good. By integrating these insights, you protect yourself from the common pitfalls that stall careers and erode influence in competitive professional spaces. You learn to frame your ideas so that they are welcomed by those in power, rather than rejected as a challenge to their authority. You learn to use silence as a tool to gain information, rather than filling the void with words that diminish your perceived authority. You learn to cultivate a reputation that works for you even when you are not in the room, acting as a silent advocate for your potential. You learn to prioritize the outcome of your actions over the ego-driven need to be right in a public or private debate. And you learn to manage your presence so that your engagement is always perceived as valuable, rare, and worthy of genuine attention. This level of literacy in the language of power is what separates those who are constantly reacting from those who are intentionally navigating. It is a skill set that requires constant refinement, as every environment presents new challenges and different hierarchies to understand and respect. The goal is not to dominate others, but to ensure that you are not being dominated by forces you don't fully understand or control. As you apply these laws, you will notice that your interactions become smoother, more productive, and significantly less prone to unnecessary conflict. People will begin to perceive you as more formidable, not because you are louder, but because you are more precise and intentional. This quiet competence is the hallmark of those who have truly internalized these principles and are no longer playing by accident. It is a journey of self-awareness that requires you to look honestly at your own behaviors and how they are perceived by those around you. You will start to see the same patterns repeating in your workplace, your social circles, and even in the media you consume daily. Each of these laws acts as a lens, sharpening your focus and allowing you to see the mechanics of human behavior with complete clarity. The more you practice this observation, the more natural it becomes to adjust your own strategy to achieve the results you truly desire. Remember that power is amoral, and the responsibility of how to use these insights rests entirely with you and your personal values. By staying true to your principles while understanding the game, you can achieve success without losing your integrity in the process. This is the essence of Shadowline Psychology, providing you with the tools to navigate the world with intelligence, caution, and foresight. We are not here to teach you how to deceive, but how to protect yourself and operate at a level most people never reach. The path to mastery is paved with the understanding of these laws and the discipline to apply them consistently in your daily life. As we continue through these concepts, keep an open mind and look for the ways these laws have already influenced your own experiences. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice, to observe, and to refine your approach to the complex social dynamics of the modern world. Stay focused on the long-term outcomes rather than the short-term gratification of being right or being the center of attention. With this foundation, you are now ready to dive deeper into the specific mechanics of how to apply these laws effectively and ethically. Let us prepare to explore the nuances of these laws, ensuring you have the knowledge to move through any environment with absolute confidence. Moving beyond the initial laws, we must explore the critical importance of reputation, the effectiveness of action, and the strategic use of absence. Guarding your reputation is vital because it acts as a powerful narrative that precedes you, shaping how others perceive your work before you speak. When you cultivate a strong reputation, you essentially control the frame of the conversation, ensuring that your value is recognized long before you arrive. Think of your reputation as a silent ambassador that enters the room before you do, setting the stage for every interaction you have. It is the set of expectations that determines how your words are received, how your failures are judged, and how your successes are attributed. A person with a strong reputation can make a significant mistake and have it attributed to circumstances, while others face harsh scrutiny. Greene illustrates this through the strategist Zhuge Liang, who saved his city by simply relying on the reputation he had meticulously built beforehand. Your reputation works continuously in rooms you are not in conversations you cannot hear, and in decisions made by people you have never met. Every public action you take is either a deposit or a withdrawal from that account, and most people treat this process as entirely passive. Greene argues that reputation must be actively shaped, not through falsehoods, but by ensuring your excellent work is visible to the right people. The person who works in silence expecting recognition is playing a different game than the one around them, often losing out on deserved influence. Similarly, winning through actions rather than arguments is a crucial strategy that prevents the resentment that often follows a hollow or verbal victory. Argument, no matter how logically sound, almost never changes minds permanently. It merely changes positions while generating deep-seated resentment in the other person. When you defeat someone in an argument, you show they were wrong, which the brain often registers as a painful social humiliation. People who feel their status threatened do not become grateful for your logic. They become motivated to reclaim their ground and challenge you. Greene points to Benjamin Franklin, who found that arguing made people less cooperative, so he started asking questions to guide them instead. By making the other person arrive at the correct conclusion themselves, they feel helped rather than corrected, leading to a much better relationship. The next time someone is wrong, do not argue. Create the conditions for them to discover the right answer on their own terms. Let the result do the work your words would do less effectively, as winning through action requires tolerating the discomfort of delayed credit. The goal is the outcome, not the immediate recognition, and this approach is significantly more effective than any heated debate could ever be. Furthermore, the strategic use of selective absence ensures that your presence remains a valuable, scarce resource, rather than becoming expected background noise. We live in an era that treats constant availability as a virtue, but social psychology suggests the opposite when it comes to perceived value. When you are always available, always responsive, and always present, you become ambient, and what is expected cannot truly impress or inspire. When you are selectively absent, your presence becomes an event rather than a default, and your attention becomes a signal rather than noise. Behavioral economists call this the scarcity heuristic, the brain's tendency to assign greater value to things that are rare and harder to obtain. This operates in relationships, professional settings, and social dynamics without exception, proving that presence is a currency that devalues with overexposure. The application is not about being cold or playing games. It is about being intentional with your time and your energy in every environment. Not every message requires an immediate response, and not every invitation deserves your attendance if it does not serve your higher strategic goals. The person who engages with everything is the person whose engagement means nothing, while the person who is selectively present creates real gravity. Ultimately, these laws serve as a sophisticated defensive toolkit, protecting you from career-stalling threats and the exhaustion of constant, unnecessary over-engagement. By adopting this clear-eyed perspective, you can navigate complex social landscapes with quiet competence, maintaining your composure even when the stakes are high. Understanding these patterns does not require you to abandon your personal values. Instead, it empowers you to move through the world with intention. Knowing law, 1 protects you from watching your career stall because someone above you felt threatened by your natural excellence and your ambition. Knowing law, 9 protects you from spending years winning arguments and losing influence, allowing you to focus on results that actually move the needle. Knowing law, 16 protects you from giving so much of yourself to environments that stop valuing what is freely and constantly given to them. It is about recognizing that power is amoral, neither inherently good nor evil, but a force that operates regardless of whether you acknowledge it. Dismissing these dynamics does not make you immune to them. It just makes you unaware, while others are actively using them to their advantage. The most important use of these laws is defensive, ensuring that you are no longer a pawn in a game you do not understand. When you see the mechanics of reputation, action, and presence, you stop being reactive and start being proactive in your professional life. This clarity allows you to walk into any room and understand the unspoken currents that dictate how decisions are made and power is distributed. You begin to see that the most influential people are often the ones who speak the least and act with the most precision. They understand that words are a limited currency, and every unnecessary expenditure devalues the impact of what they eventually choose to say. They understand that reputation is a living, breathing asset that requires constant, careful maintenance to ensure it serves their long-term objectives. They understand that actions are the only language that truly commands respect in a world full of empty promises and heated, pointless debates. By mastering these dynamics, you ensure that you are no longer playing a game you do not fully understand, but are instead shaping your destiny. You learn to protect your time and your energy, knowing that true influence is built on scarcity and the strategic deployment of your presence. This is the essence of Shadowline Psychology, moving past the surface-level noise to understand the deeper patterns that govern human behavior. It is about maintaining your integrity while being savvy enough to recognize when you are being manipulated or when you are losing leverage. Once you see these laws in action, you cannot unsee them, and the world begins to look very different than it did before. You will notice the people who constantly outshine their masters and wonder why they never seem to get the promotion they deserve. You will watch people exhaust themselves in arguments, only to find that they have won the point but lost the person entirely. You will see the power of the person who stays quiet, waits for the right moment, and speaks only when their words will have maximum impact. This is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming a more effective version of yourself in every social interaction. It is about having the confidence to stand in your own power without needing to constantly prove it to those who do not matter. It is about realizing that your reputation is your most valuable asset and treating it with the respect that it truly deserves. As you integrate these principles, you will find that you are less stressed, more focused, and significantly more effective in your daily life. You will stop chasing validation and start building a foundation of competence that speaks for itself, regardless of the noise around you. The game is already being played, and the only question is whether you will continue to be a spectator or start being a player. Now that you have the tools, the responsibility to use them wisely rests entirely on your shoulders, and the path forward is clear. You are now equipped to navigate the complexities of power with a quiet, unshakable competence that most people will never fully reach.